Today on The Big Story, is this the new face of terror? ISIS may have a new successor to Baghdadi. By girls and for girls only, find out more about this all-girl exclusive carpooling service. I have enough, I don't need anything else. Elderly Good Samaritan refuses money, find out why. Hello and welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Haryanto Diman, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Following the death of former ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, a new successor may have been appointed. Now, the new leader is thought to be this man, Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Quraishi. Now, very little is known about him. Meanwhile, closer to home, many experts do not believe the threat posed by ISIS has diminished in any way, as Indonesia and the Philippines are known hotbeds for Islamic extremist ideology. ST's US Bureau Chief Nirmal Ghosh spoke to our correspondents there to find out more. Now, here are the key highlights from his own show, The Asian Insider.
So let's turn now to Wahyudi Suryatmaja, the Straits Times Indonesia correspondent in Jakarta, and Raul Dancil, Philippines correspondent in Manila. Wahyudi, thanks for being with us today. What is your assessment of the influence of ISIS in Indonesia?
Indonesia, the largest Muslim population in the world. And ISIS, they have been having this, what they call Takfiri doctrine. They treat anyone as enemies, including Muslims who do not follow their doctrine. If I can tell you more, compared to Jemaah Islamiyah, ISIS attacks have been small, poorly planned, unorganized. So we can call they are just newbie terrorists with lack of experience. They have picked up their skills to attack primarily from internet. And unlike Jemaah Islamiyah, they don't have people who have gone to battles in Afghanistan, in Mindanao. There are a lot of lone wolves. And if Baghdadi died, the ISIS newsletter would report it like they did when the ISIS spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Admani died, and ISIS announced he was replaced by Ali Muhajir. So basically they're saying a replacement of ISIS leader would confirm the demise of al-Baghdadi. And they also went on, if Baghdadi was killed, there will be a successor, don't worry. So these are the chatters among the militants on the social media. So their violent jihad will continue regardless.
Very, very interesting. Okay, so Raul, coming to you, coming to the Philippines, what is your take? Do you think al-Baghdadi's demise will resonate out there, will change anything there?
I agree with the assessment of security officials here that the Baghdadi's death, while a setback, will not diminish the threat of violent extremism here in the Philippines. I think one fact to look at here is that Baghdadi, in the eyes of his followers, Baghdadi died a martyr. And this is bound to galvanize younger, more idealistic terrorists here in the Philippines. I'd like to point out that here in the Philippines, we've had suicide attacks before, but they were perpetrated by foreigners, Indonesians. In the last bombing, we had a couple from Indonesia who bombed a cathedral here in southern Philippines. But in July, we saw the first case of a Filipino suicide bomber. And I think Baghdadi's death, the way it happened, he blew himself up, I understand. It's setting an example, for younger, more idealistic Filipino terrorists. And that may embolden them to, resort to more suicide attacks. And we've had an influx of foreign terrorists coming here, and they're the ones who are radicalizing these younger generation of Muslims. And so to sum it up, I think Baghdadi's death will just galvanize these terrorists.
Well, here in the United States, General Kenneth McKenzie, commander of the U.S. Central Command or CENTCOM, has been quite frank that nobody is under any illusions. We don't see a bloodless future, he said, because al-Baghdadi will be replaced and that ideology is still out there.
Do catch the full episode of the Asian Insider on the Straits Times YouTube channel. Now, you've heard of Grab and Gojek, but what about hitching a ride from someone via a chat group? Now, not to be confused with ride-hailing, where drivers ferry passengers for a fee. Carpooling means you hop onto a ride which is headed in the same direction. There is a carpooling service for women only. SG Hitch Female Drivers Riders group chat on Telegram was set up by Ms. Ong Shu Ling. After getting harassed by drivers on hitch rides booked through apps, the university students started this chat group. It connects women drivers and riders. The Straits Times has found at least 10 such carpooling groups. Riders told ST that they can negotiate fares that are cheaper than what ride-hailing firms charge. Joining us right now is ST journalist Kara Wong. Welcome, Kara. Now, Kara, let's talk about the difference between these groups and apps like Grab. Why use a carpooling chat instead of something like Grab Hitch?
Okay, well, for one, the prices when used this kind of chats can be negotiated, which is what a lot of riders and drivers will prefer. And if you've tried using Grab Hitch or Ridepool yourself, you'll understand that sometimes it's really hard to get a ride.
Right.
So what they're doing is really they just try and spam as many platforms as possible and try to see who gets who picks them up lah.
Right. And are there any concerns regarding a lack of regulation with these Telegram carpooling groups?
So, okay, first off, they are not flouting any laws because carpooling is legal within some stipulated conditions. Like the drivers can't pick up more than can't do more than 2 rides a day. The cost that they charge them cannot be more than the expenses incurred in ferrying them. So some of them actually might already be flouting the law, we're not sure.
Yeah.
But what everyone is more worried about is the fact that they are getting in the car with a complete stranger. So they're effectively putting their lives in the hands of someone they don't know, who's headed in the same direction of them. And that obviously raises a lot of issues because there are people who have experienced harassment, like girl riders have said they've received pictures of male genitalia from riders or drivers, and then some have been hit on during the rides itself, and then some people just seem to target them and send money lending messages, which is not what the chats are supposed to be for lah.
Interesting that you brought up regarding the unwanted advances that these riders have received. Now, of course, you wrote and you found out about the SG Hitch Female Drivers Riders group chat, which is set up to protect women drivers and riders. Should the authorities, you feel, also step in to address this issue of women drivers, especially getting harassed by male drivers on ride-hailing services?
Okay, well, I think as of right now, maybe they don't have to step in yet because it is an informal chat group. It's a very ground-up initiative, and the ultimate aim seems quite good in general. You carpool, you save the environment, you save resources, and you can save some money. But what is dangerous is the harassment cases that's going on. So I think what's important here is that they really stand out to report any harassment cases they receive, because at the end of the day, the message should still go out that harassment is not and will not be tolerated, which goes the same for the drivers and riders. Just behave yourself.
Yeah, definitely, Kara. I think that is a good point to make, that whatever harassment that drivers, riders, sometimes even drivers, they do receive as well, that you report these unwanted advancements. And it does not only happen to women riders as well. Sometimes male riders also face this kind of unwanted advancements, right?
Correct. It goes both ways. It's not just a female-only problem, because the males will say things like, maybe they keep texting them and asking for a free ride, or maybe some person sends him money lending messages, asks him to take part in a business opportunity, which they're like, I'm not here for this, I just want a ride in the same direction.
Right. Thank you once again, Kara, for coming on to the show to share more with us on this. Now, to read Kara's full story, you can visit our website at www.straitstimes.com. Now, moving on to our second segment, of course, when people read the story of 83-year-old Mr. Lee Cho Poon, caring selflessly for his elderly housemates, offers and donations started pouring in for the retired busker. From a preschool director to a lawyer and a student, both young and old offered a variety of donations, including money, bed sheets, clothing, furniture, and groceries. However, Mr. Lee has declined, saying he has enough and does not need anything else.
"像平常这样咯，照顾他，早上带他去吃早餐，下午带他去吃午餐，我自己亲自下厨，对，买菜，煮2顿饭给他吃，2个人吃，对，帮他们冲凉，帮他们换衣服，帮他洗衣服，是这样。怜悯着你读书而春，证明你一切都是在陪我，感觉对你就默说，你说过2天来看我。
Now, to share more about this heartwarming story, we have journalist Timothy Goh with us. Welcome, Timothy.
Thank you.
Now, Tim, tell us, why did Mr. Lee decline the donations and assistance?
So I think I'd like to start off by saying that it's not that he wasn't grateful for the assistance. In fact, he kept on repeatedly saying, "Ayo, thank you so much" in Mandarin. I asked me to thank all the people who have offered. But at this point in time in his life, I think he feels that he already has everything he needs. He said that he doesn't need anything else, and that's because he's living with Mr. Neo, who he treats as his brother. He was abused as a kid. He never knew his biological parents. He never had any siblings of his own. So to him, Mr. Neo is very precious, and nothing is more important than that. So he feels that he has everything he needs already by caring for Mr. Neo, and he also wanted donors to reach out and give their donations to people who he said are needier than him, and that really impressed me because he's an elderly man, he's living in a 1-room rental flat, and he's got no savings of his own, and there are not that many people who are needier than that.
Yeah. And Tim, you met Mr. Lee at his 1-room apartment in Ang Mo Kio, and he shared with you some of his treasured possessions.
Yes.
Tell us more about that. You didn't manage to include this in your story.
Yes.
Tell us more.
This was very interesting to me because he lives very simply. Actually, it's a very sparsely furnished flat. You've got maybe a dining table in the middle of the room, a mattress on the floor, a cupboard for clothes, and that's about it. But what he seems to really treasure are the memories. He would show me these photos of him as a busker, and also a songbook that when he was busking in Geylang, some people gave to him. But what he really treasures, I think, is this bed that a friend donated to him. His friend's mother actually was a patient, and she died, I think, in that bed. And afterwards, the friend donated the bed to him because before that he was sleeping on a very cheap tilam on the floor. And it's a hospital bed, and normally you wouldn't want to sleep in a bed that someone else has passed away in. But to Mr. Lee, he was so impressed by it. He was saying, "Wow, beds these days they can last for a few years," because he's used to such a cheap mattress. And I think this really says a lot about him, that he's a very simple man, and he doesn't think about wanting more. He doesn't covet more expensive things.
And Mr. Lee received a cash prize from Tan Tock Seng Hospital.
Yes.
Did he share with you what are his plans for the cash prize?
Yes, and it was very touching. I think he basically said that he wanted to buy some bottles of bird's nest for his housemate Mr. Neo because Mr. Neo was coughing, and I said, "Okay, well, if you're buying bird's nest, why don't you drink some for yourself?" And he said, "No, I don't need it. It's expensive, and I'm not coughing. I don't need it." So I said, "Surely the cash prize was more than a couple of bottles of bird's nest, right?" And I said, "Are you going to buy something else for yourself? Maybe something nice to treat yourself?" And he said, "No, I just want to buy some clothes for Mr. Neo." And that was it, And I think that's what really sums up the character of Mr. Lee. Someone who has so little but doesn't want any more, and he gives everything he has to care for those around him. He's a really great man.
I'm pretty sure his very selfless act inspires. It's very inspiring for all of us, and definitely we can take a leaf out of the character that he has displayed.
Yes.
Now, of course, thank you so much, Tim, for coming onto the show to share with us a bit more about the story of Mr. Lee. Now, again, for those of you, of course, who haven't already read the story, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com to read Tim's story on Mr. Lee. There is also an accompanying video as well. You can check that out. Now, those were the top stories for the day. For more news and videos, do head on to our website at straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman. Thanks for watching The Big Story, and we will see you again next week. Have a good weekend.